Igbo kwenu, ndị Igbo anyị ga-adị ka echi, maka na echi ada agwụ agwụ. Ebe onye nọ ya biko ya nọsie ike. A sị m agha daba ma mmadụ anwụna, maka na ndụ bụ isi. Aha m bụ M.O Ene, abụ m onye Igbo. Nke onye na-aza biko ya zasie ya ike. Nke onye echiri ya biko ya zere, maka na eziokwu bụ ndụ. Ekene dịrị mmezi Yvonne Chioma Mbanefo na ndị otu ya maka mbọ ha gbara ịchịkọba ngwa ngwa n'ama cyber ọgbakọ Igbo nke afọ 2020 n'agbanyeghị njekoro na-ebute ọya njekoro nke afọ 19. Daalụnụ, mberede nyere dike, unu bụ dike, unu bụ aha eji aga mba. Ọkwa ihe dị otu a ka ọkwa jiri so ụmụ ya ha tụrụ mgbọrọgwụ maka onye gburu ji aka na-agbazi. Mekwuru ulili ji wee sị ndị mmadụ onye gbakọta ọsọ onye jekede ije rada ya tụọ nkwa maka ihe ọsọ eme. So nke a bụ isiokwu m tata dịka m ga-ekọwa ya na bekee. Ụfọdụ okwu na-aka mma na bekee. Ọnọdụ anyị fụrụ onwe anyị ga-emezi Igbo. Igbo ga-adị, ụwa ga-adị, maka na ụwa bụ ụwa ndị Igbo. Dịka m ji asị, egbe bere gobere, ndụ nwoke ndụ nwaanyị, okenye ga-adị, nwata ga-adị, ọsa na nkwụ ụzọ na nkwụ, onye biri biko ibe ya biri, ndụ mmiri ndụ azụ, nke m dịrị m nke gị dịrị gị. Na-ayọzi ka eze Chukwu okike abịama, igwe na anị, mmụọ na-emere anyị ihe ọma, Eke, Nkwọ, Orie na Afọ na ndị ichie anyị chebe, dube, debe ma gọzie anyị niile ise. The 2020 Igbo conference is happening online for an obvious reason, COVID-19. I hope that you and your family are doing well. To God be the glory for that. Again, I thank Mrs. Mbanefo and her team for putting this together in a short time and for the opportunity to allow me to share my thoughts on Igbo diasporas and their disruptions since 1900. Trust me, I will only touch on key points. The gaps we can fill up with academic thesis in the future. First of all, let's define what diaspora here means. Diaspora in Igbo is Uzo Ije, those on a travel. So that's what it means. That's anybody anywhere outside your historical agnate, which is Umunna. Anywhere outside that, especially beyond the Igbo-speaking world, that is a diaspora. So that means that a diasporan, Onyu Ije, is anyone who has spent some formative years for a considerable time outside the Igbo area where the person was born or relates to. So that means that when you leave your place of present habitation, you cause a disruption. You leave the established normal onto what is a new location. And that relocation creates a new normal. The new normal is now what we call diaspora. So I guess that is what everybody understands. Okay, moving ahead, an Igbo idiom instructs that ihudimma adigme tumvo. That means that a fine face should not be pinched. In real life, however, even the finest of faces gets a pinch, either in appreciation when we were kids or old age takes its toll. So human societies are like fine faces forged in a furnace of disruptions. No nation has emerged without disruptions. Forging a nation takes both internal interruptions and external emergencies. So a nation is like an omelette. We cannot make an omelette without cracking a few eggs, of course, adding some spices. So the evolution of Igbo society is not an exception. It took many disruptions to arrive at this juncture in our history. By the way, the disruptions are still ongoing. The Igbo people, that's in the Igbo, will experience and endure more disruptions before we build that perfect nation that we're trying to have, an Igbo nation. We need disruptions. What did I say? We need the disruptions to form a more perfect union. Now, what sort of disruptions do we need? Thank you for asking. I have been called the oracle, but I'm not in constant dialogue with the gods. So we may all have visions, but we are not prophets. We must fall back on historical experiences. Our yesterday informs our today, and our today becomes our tomorrow. So the Ghanaian Sankofa birth symbol, if you are familiar with this, it says that it is not wrong to go back to that which you have forgotten. So my thesis is that the Igbo diaspora has been a major force in the continued formation of an Igbo nation south of Oshimiri, which is what we call River Niger. This has been the case for a dozen decades, that is since 1900, when the British began the cobbling of a colonial contraption that we now call Nigeria. So Igbo have been linking the lands and peoples, bringing good and bad rains to fall on Igbo land. I say that again. Igbo stepped out of their comfort zone. And more than the British could do, they linked the lands and the peoples, and whatever they brought, good or bad, fell on Igbo land. So, a century of persecutions and pogroms later, we, the modern Igbo diaspora, continue to build on the foundations of these migrations that started way back before the British. So before the British and the imperial interruptions, which are of course disruptions on their own, the Igbo country belonged to peace-loving and progressive peoples, minding their businesses, no pun intended, please. They coexisted constructively, and in most parts, there were no wars or anything of the nature. For one reason or the other, an entire family or a clan could move from one place to another. So you see in Igbo land certain semblances between communities, like Ubulu, Bulihejefo, Zobulu, Ubuluzo, Buluku, and others. Those are just communities that moved on to other places. You have the Onichas also, but we'll get there someday. But for one reason or the other, they moved out of their community. So diasporas have been forming from way back before the British came. But no groups fought wars or took over another community completely. So we didn't have that, because many core societies had no standing armies. They had no regular police force. They had no prisons, no judges. They have only the elders, the titled men. There was no overreaching king. Hence, we have the popular phrase, Igbo Enweze. That's where it came from. They don't need that kind of socio-political institution that controlled them, because they had a republican regime of decent Democrats, and also a people who respected their elders and, of course, revered their ancestors. So most disruptions you find is that something like the Agbaja formation in Enugu area, the Ubulu expansion, as I've mentioned before, is a chima of Pandonisha settlements, which most people know now. The immigration of biblical area and the establishment of theocracy, the Nagukunri, and of course Agulere and Dumulere, the Gala Kingdom, Urban Idu being our current Edo. And of course, the exodus of Ekwomarogo in Owerenchise origin, the Arrow adventurers, which everybody knows. So these are the ones that we know before the British came. These are the diasporas. These events endured until 1470. Why 1470? That was when the Portuguese stopped by the now Bight of Biafra, which is now Bight of Borneo also, in their search for a sea route to India. Of course, anyone who did history in school knows that Vasco da Gama eventually made it. But anyway, the Portuguese showed up in 1470. Fast forward to 1600s, 2 centuries after Columbus sailed to the Caribbeans, the game did what? Changed. We all know about the sale of slave trade, but what I call human trafficking wasn't any trade at all. The Aro people who had migrated as far south as Ubani, who today we call Bonny, deployed the dreaded Ibinu Babi along the shrine and later kidnapping to sustain the transatlantic human trafficking. Stories of the eventual enslavement of Igbo in the Americas are still out there. Okay, to get some insight into this story, I won't bother you with it, but you can read the narratives of Olaudah Equiano, which is very, very, very important. Every Igbo child should someday read the narratives of Olaudah Equiano, or about the story, or the stories of Igbo landing, which is now taught in Georgia schools, USA. Of course, Jaja of Opobo was actually Mbanaso Uzurumba of Amibolu. Of course, the coming of Europeans, British and Irish Christian missionaries, establishment of schools, and all that. So these are the pre-colonial events that led to the colonial Igbo diaspora, which we are going to talk about. So these guys were our forerunners. They were here before us, and they told us that there are lands across our own sphere of existence. So by 1900, some adventurous Igbo people had left their home bases to other parts of now Nigeria. Notably, let's use this couple, Chukwuemeka and Chinwe Azikiwe. And who are there? These are the parents of Nigeria's first president, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe. So they left their Onitsha place with in Luga's civil service and ended up in Zungeru. So like Chukwuemeka and Chinwe, other diasporans had children, and their children grew up to extend the range of our diaspora experiences. Ezo Nyamaneke, for example, and other citizens who are resourceful, extended Igbo diaspora to United Kingdom. Onyama, as you all know, attended the London's British Empire's vision in 1924 with his first son, Henry, and Simon who later became the first Western-trained medical doctor, the first Igbo person to be trained as a medical doctor outside our shores. In 1925, the following year, Nnamdi Azikiwe extended the reach of our diaspora experience to the Americas. Other people followed their footsteps. We'll get to that later. The quest for higher education abroad has continued to this day, and it has produced a long line of leaders, far too many to mention. In fact, a book to be written about all Nigerians who have this diaspora experience. There are too many of them. But anyway, back to the second decade, the exploitation of coal in Enugu brought its own diasporic disruptions. With the movement of people looking to work in the colliery industry, people left their homes. People came from Onitsha, came from Sierra Leone, even Lebanon. Because if you know the guy who had the cinema, Mr. Solomon, is from Lebanon. They all came to Enugu. So Enugu provided the first Pan-Igbo settlement of in modern era, where people from all parts of Igbo land came together. They left their homes. They want to work in the mines. They want to make money, better the lives of their children. So when the massacre of coal miners happened on November 17, 1949, it provided a crucible, not only for Igbo to act as one, but for Nigerians to seek total political independence from Britain. This is where it started. So when they tell you that Nigeria had its independence from on a platter of platinum, so to speak, no, it took blood, the blood of Enugu coal miners. So this was captured in actually in a book written by Dons Eze, Enugu and the Making of Nigeria. You can check it out. So before 1949, anyway, there's 1929 women of Aba revolt, a galvanizing Igbo to question colonial policies. Now, the revolt resonated because Aba now has become, remember that Aba is now located on, what's it called? The Enugu-Port Harcourt railway line, through which they sent coal to Britain. So Aba has become a trading center with people from northern Igbo land and also migrating from Calabar and under riverine communities. By 1936, the first major Igbo political platform was formed, and that was Igbo State Union. It was formed by mostly Igbo diaspora elite, Zik and the rest of them. But Igbo State Union did not actually go to seek for Igbo nationalism. It was seeking more for anti-colonial nationalism. Otherwise, every Igbo community thrived independently. There was no community, cross-community leadership structures that existed, except, for example, if you can look at Eze Aron Arochukwu, which has other communities but all over Igbo land. You have Eze and Renago Kunre with Istiocracy, the Ozo society across northern Igbo land. Of course, you have Obi of Onitsha, you have Onyamaneke, who sat along the Abaja communities, or Chief Chukwani in Ozora, who sat over in Kano areas. Of course, Eze Njamanzana, who has his fair in that Imo State area. Again, we cannot forget Eze Boko, Odozi Obodo na Abakaliki. And of course, in Soka sphere, we have Eze Nwodo, the grandfather of our current Tohanese PG, Nyanwodo. So, it is important to note that the Igbo State Union might have bought into Azikiwe's call for Igbo Commonwealth, but they never created a political paraphernalia for self-governance of Ndi Igbo. They never pursued an Igbo nation. Instead, most Igbo people in diaspora began to weave Nigeria. The Igbo are still stuck in weaving a country that is, unfortunately, showing all the signs of Humpty Dumpty. You know what that means. Moving ahead, every major disruption in Igbo socio-political evolution has been because of Igbo diaspora. It's a hypothesis, but I stand by it. I couldn't see it any other way. It's a direct result of Ndi Igbo leaving the comfort of their communities to live somewhere else. So this avid adventurism of Ndi Igbo has ingrained in us a wider worldview and a malleable models in our human relationships. It is therefore not surprising that the major characters in Nigerian politics from 1930s to date are products of Igbo diaspora. Let's take a roll call. Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, I said about him before, he was born in Zungeru, northern Nigeria, but the neighbors called him Ibrahim and said he'll be the father of a nation. Okay? The neighbor Balaafa, and that was it, according to the story anyway. So Zik was born in northern Nigeria, not in Igbo land, through diaspora. The same was General Chukwuemeka Odumegwu Ojukwu Ikemba Nnewi. He was born in the same town, in Zungeru. General Johnson Thomas Omonakwa said the first military leader of Nigeria, grew up in Kano. From primary school. The 7 Argonauts, the Mbadiwe, the Mbono Jipe, Echukwu Ikejani, and Wafo Rizu, Soibo Dinamado, they followed Zik to America. Dr. M.O Ene, who became the premier in 1960, studied medicine in Lagos. Lagos to Umahia is quite a diaspora, quite a distance. Dr. Kanibiam, who was born in Abakaliki, went to Scotland. Major Chukwuma Kaduna Zogu, Patrick, was born, bred, and buried in Kaduna. Anthony Babesika studied at California, where he met his wife, Chinyere Jogo. Major Manuel Arunze Fajina studied at Ibadan, as did Emeka Nyoko, his friend, Chinua Achebe, Chris Okibo, Jim Wobodo, Nyanwodo. All major actors in the events leading to the war, during and after, were all products of diaspora experiences. Okay, take the war, the Nigerian Biafra War. We all know that the Nigerian Biafra War was a direct result of Gowon's unilateral abrogation of the Aburi Accord. But the major trigger of the crisis was the pogrom, the callous killing of Igbo diasporans in the north and in the southwest. The pogrom gave the Igbo and the southeastern ethnic groups the platform to close ranks after Zika Dayata partisan debacle. So we all came together. We said, these are our brothers. We don't kill people who live among us. And we have never done it. And I hope we don't ever do it. So that shocked us to say, we have to do something about it. We forgave. We went to talk, to resolve it, like brethren. But guess what? Instead of allowing these talks to go on, Gowon did not only back out of a Aburi Accord, he created 3 states out of the fourth line of Eastern Nigerian minorities. It was a master stroke of an evil mastermind. The May 27 action upset the cohesion of an emergent multi-ethnic Republic of Biafra. So by sheer dexterity and doggedness, Biafra lasted all 30 months. And the innovations brought about by mostly Igbo of diaspora exposures and experiences. And those innovations have remained unsurpassed by any African country. So after the war, left with a core East Central state, which is mostly Igbo, another diasporan took over. Who's that? Oba Biaseka. Oba Biaseka was a crucial character in the formation of Pan-Igbo platforms that define society. In addition to reviving the University of Nigeria in Nsukka, he established the Institute of Management and Technology to mirror MIT in Massachusetts. Rangers Football Club published. Rangers is important because we use Rangers to continue the war without guns. It was for us war, and Rangers still thrives to this day as a pride of the Igbo. So Oba Biaseka took the over mission schools and private schools. This is was very unpopular then, but the takeover enabled many people to have access to education. Otherwise, if you're from a village where there is no high school of your denomination, of your parents' denomination, you don't go to high school because you can't afford to travel across to a place where there are, say, Anglicans or Catholics that build a high school. So this thing was very popular, wasn't popular, but it helped many people to have access to high school. So it also helped the school, the government to instill the teaching of Igbo language, which then had a common orthography, thanks to Dr. Seminal of our first Igbo medical doctor, and of course the efforts of Mazi F.C. Obalo, another diasporan who had studied in the United Kingdom. So they did wonders. So Asika opposed the creation of states, probably because he wants to grow a core Igbo nation. But that's where it ended. Before you know it, we split again. Ohaneze, formed in 1976, become a kind of platform, a kind of reenactment of Igbo State Union. So Ohaneze was also a formation of mostly Igbo diasporans. So Zik quoted Jim Nwobodo, Anambra, and Sam Mbakwe, Imo, to lead the Igbo front. Jim was born in Lafia, northern Nigeria, and he schooled in Ibadan. Mbakwe schooled at Forabe, Sierra Leone, and in the UK. On the other side of the political divide was Chief Sisiono and Dr. Alex Ekweme. Sisiono studied in UK, did law in UK. Alex Ekweme studied in America and also in the UK. So, political advisor, Professor Godwin Odenigwe, also studied in the US. Dr. Wilberforce Chubok Kadibo also studied abroad. And of course, Minister Ihechukwu ICI Madubike, who introduced state universities, was also, they were all diasporans. So the Second Republic died when the military returned with Buhari. The economy tanked. Many people who have returned back from abroad retraced their steps and moved back to Britain and to USA. The exodus continued when neither Babangida nor Abacha could fix the economy. So the growing Igbo middle class died. Then came American lottery visa, which many got lucky, packed up, and left to form what I call now the fourth foundation. The fourth foundation meaning the final foundation for a permanent Igbo diaspora in USA. Notwithstanding, the economists continue to tank, and Canada, China, European Union, Brazil, Russia, Australia, Dubai, Indonesia, Malaysia, Hong Kong, even India became all diaspora destinations. So by 1992, in USA, we have formed enough population centers in Igbo, in USA to form the World Igbo Congress, which was formed to protest the annulment of June 12th and also the attack on Igbo people in Lagos. So as with Igbo State Union and Ohaneze and other Pan-Igbo forums in USA, they focus more on making Nigeria a better place for Igbo, not on pure Igbo nationalism. We never really built that Igbo nation we were looking for. Give it arms, give it legs to walk. So we started doing things. We had to push for Port Harcourt International Airport, for Akanibo International Airport, for Second Niger Bridge. We pushed for improved standard of living for all. We pushed for decentralization of law schools. So when a school of law for the East popped up, Enugu State Governor Chimaro Kennamani, a medical doctor and also a diaspora who had left from Florida, USA, grabbed the proposal with both hands and cited Justice Augustine Nnamani School of Law at Agbani near Enugu. Just for information, Justice Nnamani, I think is still the first or the only justice with LLD and also a son, senior advocate of Nigeria. So he was a great guy. Okay. On the 30th anniversary of the Declaration of Biafra, specifically on Friday, May 30th, 1997, I organized and inaugurated the Biafran Day. It was a remembrance of the victims of Biafra and a memorial lecture on the Nigerian Biafra War. It was held as a part of Igbo Heritage Month, which was also instituted in that year in New Jersey, USA. Now, the revisiting of Biafra stopped the idea of trying to kill the Biafra. Biafra is our history. It's our history. We can't kill it. As an idea against political oppression, it will never die, even though we can realize it now. But the events of May 1997, which was held in Enugu, also brought out the idea of using that Biafra for political protest, which Ralph Wasilike, who is also another diasporan, he studied law in India, started MASAP, which is the movement for the actualization of the sovereign state of Biafra. Of course, by 2015, we have the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, which was led by UK resident Nnamdi Kanu, another diasporan. It became the foremost group pushing for referendum on Biafra. What's my point? My point is that every time you look at anything happening in that country, in the Igbo land, it has to be by someone who can be classified by our definition as a diaspora. Good. Now, without fanfare on December 7, 1997, it dawned on me that the Igbo had never focused on building a nation, an Igbo nation. No, we never. It's always Nigeria, Biafra. Biafra is not Igbo. We cannot claim Biafra because it was not Igbo in its formation. It is not Igbo in its existence, and it is not Igbo in its nomenclature. For Biafra to be an Igbo word, it should be Biafra. You know, consonants do not occur in Igbo lingo. So the etymology of Biafra appears to be a Jaw Portuguese origin, not Shona. But truth be told, I said it before, Biafra as an idea against forced federation will never die until Nigerian nations relax and untie themselves by this cord that brings them together, trying to bond all of them. They have to unwind a little bit to achieve their full potential. So the point I was making then was that we've had our point made. We were pushed and we pushed back. Okay, it's over. So we said, let's have a state with the appellation Aladimma for a core nation of Igbo people, whether it's in Nigeria and Biafra or whatever, in Africa and ECOWAS. So this Aladimma appellation had been used by Tony Nadi's Lower Niger Congress, which later adopted the name for the Igbo territory. So which means the Lower Niger Conference is like bringing Biafra and Benin together to form a federation under the Nigerian Commonwealth. But anyway, that's another story. So we're not worried about the borders of Igbo nation, whether it goes to Abo, whether it goes to Boni, whether it goes to wherever. The most important thing that we have a common culture that binds us together. So that was why I brought out the motto to be our culture is our future, or stated in Igbo, Odinalani, Bodiniruani. So as Americans say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I disagree. Disruptions are good. Disruptions are good. It took looking at Nigeria from a distant comfort of diaspora for us to realize that this status quo will not sustain. We cannot chew on this. It has to be said. Nigeria as is untenable. Again, Biafra as was is unattainable. Nigerian nations must stay slightly apart. to achieve their full potentials. Otherwise, we will also suffocate in the intense heat of compulsory colonial closeness that we have been living for the past 120 years. Okay, this forced matrimony will not last. It's not working. We deceive ourselves every day by delaying the D-Day. We don't have to fight over this. But the delay is dangerous. The more we delay, the more it becomes more difficult. Then again, we cannot hurry the sun. But no one can stop an event which time has come. In Igbo, we say, by fire or by force, by faith, or even by our feelings, Nigerian nations must inhale greater autonomy and excel this failed air of unitary government, being in one country. You can be in one country under a certain agreement where people are allowed to achieve their full potentials based on their cultural view or their world view, the set paradigms from their ancestors. So somehow, someday, something is going to change. As we say in Igbo, so for the first time in living history, I see an Igbo nation emerging, a nation that provides a level playing field, Aladimma, a republic of democrats, where no life monarch shall reign. We call it Aladimma because Aladimma obatonyo obuna, udo esochie, organire esochie, udo adi. So, starting slowly on land this May 2020, the concept will work on the present Southeast. If we just stop and declare a common cause that the Igbo need a nation of their own, we could work with our governors. There's no need fighting, hating, using curse words, always fighting. That energy could be channeled from the diaspora, channeled towards creating an Igbo nation. Remember, a nation does not have to have borders. It does not have to have borders. You're just doing something. Before you know it, you build a place that the citizens can be proud of, and that is a nation. So over the past 50 years, the Igbo have built, or the Igbo have evolved many uncommon commonalities, if I could say that are not obvious to casual observers. So look at the Igbo language. The common Igbo language has emerged before our eyes without disrupting the flow of inter-intelligible dialects. Thanks to Dr. Ejike's, Yvonne Mbanefo, and many others, including yours sincerely with thefontpone.com, common phrases and words emerge on social media without filters. For example, ekwenti, buboyi, wole. These are words that people, by the way, ekwenti is telephone, buboyi is snow, and wole is ball. So these are words that are coming out and evolving before our eyes. You don't have to fish for vocabulary before you can speak in Igbo, and fluently too. So diaspora disruptions of dialects is fastening the emergence of a common speaking Igbo Izugbe. Okay, this is how you have a common language that makes it possible for an Abo girl to understand a boy from Abomege, or a boy from Boni to understand a girl from Igboeze in Nsukka. That's the only way. And by now it's working. If you come to African markets in America, the words like ehuru, oda, odala, egusi, ogiri, onugbo, oha, ojibo, ube, oba, oziza, they have no dialect versions. They have no English equivalent. They are just that. If you come to the market, African market, no matter who you are, whether once you come there, you go to look for ube, or you look for oba, or you look for odala, oda, whatever. Okay, so Igbo names are showing the same certain consistencies and common innovations because of diaspora disruptions of parochial preferences. For example, the name Ngozi was a unisex name in some southern Igbo communities. Boys, girls answered Ngozi. It is not so anymore. it is now an exclusively female name. Every family has a girl named Ngozi, as they have a male named Emeka. Also, there's a Commonwealth Igbo rule that prefers H to F. Many diaspora parents prefer F in such names as Ifeanyi, Ifechukwu, Ifedimma, Ifeoma, Ifunanya. So you don't normally see any girl again answering Ihunanya or Ihoma. So it's normally Ifeoma and Ifunanya. So this was possible because in diaspora, you have the freedom to be able to name your child whatever you can, and others will copy. Also, the colonial community, I'm proud to say, has developed diaspora dimensions. Okay, where somebody, if we have a gathering, somebody from USA, for example, we take colonial before somebody from UK, and of course, if we're in UK, somebody from UK will take colonial before somebody from America. So we have developed that diaspora dimension in a colonial communion. Of course, the traditional Igbo word in Igbo is now being spiced and spruced and mostly preferred to European Christian rituals, the white wedding, so-called. Okay, so the sacrament sustains our religion. It's a culture, it's growing. By the way, when we do white wedding was never there until Queen Victoria wore white to her wedding. That was where it started. So it's not our culture. It's not even British or English culture. So we bring it in our own thing because in diaspora, we've seen that, hey, we have the right to use rituals that we understand. So the renaissance of aspects of Igbo cultural experiences in diaspora also include the Ishiagu costume, which we wear now normally when we go to our parties, the toned down ichafu for women, the August General meeting, the community returns back home, the town union meetings, Omona fraternities, Omada sororities where it works, and even an Igbo social clubs. Okay, so with wider worldview, we renovate what works for us and use it to improve on what we inherited, which is why our ancestors say that onye ije na onye isi awọ ama ihe. So you don't notice because you are an elder, you really have to step out of your zone, which is one of the advantages and one of the good things about the diaspora disruptions. So many things in Igbo philosophy have two sides. You know, you have the good, the bad, the head, the tail, the highs, and the lows. Okay. So in Igbo we say ihe kwuru, ihe akwu de beya. So in as much as I'm praising diaspora disruption, it brought in some kind of you know, some, I wouldn't say bad things, but things that we may not all like. So Nigerians come from diverse ethnic and racial backgrounds. The differences have further widened with Igbo diaspora. It has widened. In fact, we are more together even in Nigeria than in diaspora. In diaspora, people have really gone to their corners and you know, began to look at things more, and also more from their ethnic point of view. That this bad belly backlashes that erode our faith in the oneness of Nigeria. Okay, we have seen Igbo people suffer persecutions everywhere. We have also abroad, we have seen stronger and much more homogeneous countries break up. Britain is not spared. The Scots want out. I won't be surprised if the Welsh also want to go. So we have seen this small homogeneous country, Czechoslovakia, in Bosnia. Okay, they was split, Croatia, Montenegro, and the rest of them. So this, our diaspora experience, has informed us that the way to go is that we have to find a way to cultivate an Igbo nation under any political umbrella, an Igbo nation with some measure of autonomy to pursue its own destiny, peacefully. But anyway, peacefully or painfully, Nigeria as is not sustainable. It will not sustain. The century-old marriage will end in a certain before. So I said this before. It's only a matter of time. Even if it takes another 120 years, the status quo will not endure. Either way, the impending failure of this country will thrust the Igbo diaspora into the fallout. That's what we have to prepare ourselves and our future generations. It took the Jews 23 centuries, 2,300 years. It shouldn't take us that long. But if this ends up painfully with another season of killings, we will be there to protect our people who are in Igbo country. Of course, if it's peaceful, we will face the financing of formation of strong institutions that will help to grow Igbo nation. Of course, this Igbo conference is a powerful platform, powerful pan-Igbo platform, and also an institution, which is exactly what the Jewish diaspora has used to sustain the state of Israel. So we don't have to prevent the will. We just have to copy nicely and copyright it. Okay, so there are dividends of diaspora disruptions, but there are also divisions. We brought the divided Christian denomination over. We brought some socio-cultural discrimination, especially in marital affairs. We don't have to go into that, it's very painful. We also brought in some gender issues that we should let go. But it's okay, they're all dying away as the new generation pops up in a different culture where it is more an egalitarian society. Not to talk of Igbo not being an egalitarian society, it surely was. The powerful women have remained a force over centuries. I say this because my grandmother was one of them. So, but we have a subtle division between the Igbo of diaspora and home-based Igbo, especially in politics. The use of not on the ground is a slight jab at diasporans who may want to use their physical advantage, their financial advantage to reap from where they have not labored, allegedly. However, social media and affordable air travels have minimized the impact of this division. Besides, there is no Igbo who is Igbo elite who has not traveled out, either in external or internal diaspora. So this shift is minimized, and I hope it is plugged before it becomes a cancer. The Igbo expansion has introduced a certain, but small for now, diversity. So it may take being culturally Igbo to attenuate the impact of our differences. Because if those differences pop up, it might erase the gains of our 120 years of diaspora experiences. Because the way I look at it, the diaspora, the division may shift to parentage or mastery of Igbo language. So it's important for us to define who is Igbo and how one becomes Igbo. Forget the antics of our self-hating and self-denying Igbo brethren, or the so-called, sorry to use them, efulefu, or in Imo apare, or as they say in Lagos, and then the Alawut. So success has many fans, okay? So those whose parents denied their Jewish heritage to belong in an anti-Semitic world have risen to reclaim their heritage and even learn Hebrew or move back to Israel. So the children of Igbo diaspora shall return to reclaim their legacy, either through their last names or by DNA analysis, because we have not involved many Pan-Igbo institutions yet. We haven't. Apart from the Johannese and the Igbo State Union, Igbo Congress, who are more focused on making Nigeria better than on making Igbo an independent or self-sustaining socio-political entity. So this Igbo conference is doing quite a great job in trying to bring in Igbo, form an institution that will further the prospects of Igbo nationalism. So to avoid a definite divisive disruption in the future, discrimination based on certain characteristics, we may have to establish just 4 simple tests for being Igbo. Say, males must be circumcised, which is religious, and belong to a local Igbo assembly in diaspora. Maybe number 2, Igbo-ness is patrilineal, by culture and matrilineal by choice. So somebody who is born up an Igbo woman can, in future, claim to be an Igbo. I don't see why not. Yes, we are a patrilineal society. Manafu ihe kubi eleoba. Asikwana manafu onyoma kubi ogu. So, number 3 could be an Igbo name is required. You have to be an Igbo name, and that last name is preferred. Okay, but you can have a middle name that is Igbo and still be Igbo. Okay, it can be Mr. Emeka Brown, and that's the name. That's an Igbo. So the 4th one should be a practice of aspects of Igbo language, Igbo culture rather. One of them being Igbo language. We must speak Igbo. Okay, we must participate in traditional weddings, communion, return, and support the principle of Akuluno, which is why we still relate to Igbo land the way we do, because we are following the Akuluno principle. So, in conclusion, this has been long, but we're getting there. In conclusion, I'll say that the last dozen decades of Igbo dispersions and disruptions, these years have permanently extended our native boundaries. We are never going back home again, period. The Igbo diaspora has been set. In fact, it's not Igbo diaspora. The Igbo diasporas have been set. We chose to expand after the war and diversify. We chose to make the world our world. The genie is out. It can no longer be rebutted. A permanent Igbo diaspora is set. The speed with which the Igbo re-embraced Nigeria after the war is a testimony to the fact that secession was never in our pre-war paradigm, nor in our post-war positions. Why secede? Why do you secede when you can have it all in a level playing field? The only problem we have in Nigeria is that the playing field is not leveled. It's skewed. So not many the years of pre-war pogroms and post-war persecutions, the Igbo remain the thread that binds Nigeria and experiment. Today, our internal and external diasporas have created significant centers of Igbo populace in many Nigerian and African states. We know this. You go to Alaba Market, go to Côte d'Ivoire, go to Togo, they're all there. So, take a moment. Think, what if everyone with Igbo DNA and cultural codes speaks Igbo and all that, pack up this December 2020 and relocate back to our ancestral land? Yes. Impossible? Exactly. It is impossible to think of Nigeria without the Igbo diaspora. No matter what happens to the country, Nigeria cannot wash out nor wish away the Igbo DNA. It cannot. It's ingrained, it's dyed into the fabric. So the impact of Igbo diaspora, remember that somebody who is Igbo, who lives in Kano, is in Igbo diaspora, right? Good. So the diaspora has cemented the fabrics of current Nigerian nationalism. Although Nigeria is built on a fundamentally flawed federation, or fundamentally flawed foundation, we have been doing a lot to keep that foundation intact. That's why I don't understand the relentless and rapid reaction to Igbo expansion up north and then up north and out west, which is now compelling the Igbo to prefer external diasporas, which is destinations like outside Nigeria, especially in the ECOWAS community, from Ghana upwards to Senegal, Gambia, South Africa, East Africa. This move will further depress our human resources. Our countryside is virtually open. Mansions, causing erosions. So, unless our current governors inspire cutting-edge development efforts the Igbo land we left would be opened to what? Migration from Estero. Of course, right now they're fighting that Almajiris are coming, the Almajiris are coming, the Fulanis are coming. Hey, it's all part of life. You move out, people come in. But we have to find a way to stabilize an Igbo nation that will be there for all of us. Like the Jewish diaspora of America and Europe, the Igbo diaspora is set to blossom with pan-Igbo nationalism. Again, thanks to such events as this annual conference of Igbo intelligentsia. Our villages of where we come from, our villages where our parents came from, this would be consigned to the silos of history. The new Igbo of future generation will come in sundry shades, in all shapes and in physical features. From the blondes, like in the Igbo Finland, which you are seeing before our eyes, to the all different features, from the light complexion to the dark complexion, we shall all be Ndi Shoji, Ndi Igbo. We have to get ready for that. And that is what comes with dispersions and its disruptive tendencies. So, a potential hindrance to the growth of pan-Igbo nationalism in diaspora is the absence of a cohesive nation southeast of the River Niger. We need an Igbo nation. We need an Igbo nation. I cannot confirm this enough. Preferably as a region in Nigeria with elevated autonomy, or a Commonwealth of ECOWAS, or even African Union. This was foreseen. This is not a new idea. It was foreseen by Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe on June 1949 in a speech in Aba. And also reportedly, Justice Dadi Onyama had also made this comment that's reported. Justice Onyama being the father of the current Nigerian Minister of External Affairs, Geoffrey Onyama. This is the structure that we need to achieve our full potential. We need a base. That's an Akunesio. We need a base so that we can do more. So the absence of a delineated Igbo nation of any shape or size is the knee on our neck, to use an emerging cliche, sadly, from USA. We do not need Aburi or Abuja to make it happen. We need to just do it. Get the knee off our neck. This is the Aladimma Agenda. This is what we should be concerned with and about. Everything else is embellishment. I thank you so much for listening. I hope I've not bored you. I said I would just talk on it on the major points, and I hope I've done that. We can all fill the gaps. Dalono, immense thanks. Or, as they say in my neck of the woods, Kado, please stay safe, stay strong. This too shall pass.